Evening, everyone, or should I say good early morning, or whatever you want to call it. And I want to talk about something I'm doing because I want to welcome you to a special edition, audio edition, I should say, of Topics on My Mind, number 9. This is an audio version. The reason for this is my batteries on my digital camera are running low, and my batteries on my video camera are being charged as we speak. So this is a special audio version of Topics on My Mind, number 9. And what's the topic for today? Well, let me ask you first of all, how many of you heard of a place called ShadowLordInc.com? How many of you have heard of that website? Raise your hands, because I have. And you know what I found out about ShadowLordInc.com? It's a place mainly known as one of the main websites out there to view and watch all sorts of transformation scenes. That's right, all sorts of transformation scenes. You name it, they got it. They even got situations that not just deal with transformation, but they also got situations that deal with, well, as they call it, vor. People being, where people get eaten and all that. They also deal with something called inflations. Things like that. So my question to you is, how many of you have visited a site like that? And how many of you noticed that the main thing that's used in these sites when it comes to the transformations, the bores, and the inflations, and whatever you want to call it, how many of you noticed that it's mainly cartoons and some live action that's used? And how many of you, are fans of that? But then again, how many of you are fans, and how many of you are kind of sick and tired of the whole transformation deal and in these cartoons? What I'm trying to say is, today's topic is dealing with, transformations. Do you like them or not? Personally, it doesn't really matter to me. I like some of the transformations in a cartoon, or a live action series, or even a movie, feature film, animated or live action wise, because it brings intrigue to the story. Now, some people like it because of that reason, because it brings intrigue. You wonder what happens next. But then again, some don't like that because it's like the same thing over and over again that they have seen so many times. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a show it's probably one very popular that came out in the mid 2000s, if you will, and called Martin Mystery. Now, from what I understand by looking up some information and talking to some people on other forums, Martin Mystery had 99, almost 100 different transformations or related transformations sequences in the show. And in all these transformations and sequences, either it's transformation, vor, or inflation, or whatever, dealt with all, had all the characters involved. I mean, you had characters like Martin turning into a werewolf and into a lizard monster. You had some kind of demon monster possessing somebody to the point that when it grabbed another person, it possessed that person. It was weird. And one of the characters that always got involved in these situations was Martin's stepsister, Diana. Now, Diana, the situation she would get in, they'd make you laugh sometimes, because even though she was trying to be the serious member of the team and trying to get her stepbrother Martin to focus and be serious, you always had to kind of laugh a little bit because of the situation she'd get herself in. But then you'd ask yourself the question that everybody's asked themselves when something like this happens. Is she going to remain that way for the rest of the season? Is she going to remain that way for the next 2, 3 episodes? It's the same thing that you'd ask about if it takes place in a movie. What's going to happen? I mean, I'll give you an example. There's an episode that somebody told me about where this, I think it's a warlock creature, if you will, comes out and zaps. After Diana is struggling with him, trying to fight him, he basically tosses her off and zaps her, if you will, from what I understand, with his wand and turns her into a frog. How many times have we seen that? How many times have we seen that? There's another one where she gets turned into stone. How many times have we seen that? I mean, the thing is, the situations that characters like Diana gets herself, that characters like Diana or Martin, whoever, doesn't even matter if it's that show or not, get themselves in. How many times have we seen it happen before? Now, here's another question. Now here's another question. When these transformations take place, or the wars or the inflations take place, how many times does a character stay the way they are? How many times does a personality stay as is? I mean, there are a few occasions that happens. I mean, let's take a look at a Disney classic, Sword in the Stone. When Merlin turned himself and Arthur into squirrels, Arthur kept his personality. So did Merlin. But then you take a look at, say, the situation that I talked about with the character Diane and Martin Mystery. She basically, her personality got dominated. When she got turned into a frog, instead of her saying, "Oh, great, better find a way to get back to normal, or find Martin and get him to get me back to normal," instead of doing that, what happens? When she gets turned into a frog, she ribbits and then just hops off like it's nothing. You know why? Because in some cartoons in live action, either it's a primetime, either it's a series or feature films, sometimes when that happens, the transformation, the thing that you're transformed into, takes over. So in other words, in the case of that Diane character, the frog she got turned into, its personality dominated her, and just, her animal instincts as a frog just took over, and out she went. I mean, basically what I'm saying is, how many times have we seen that happen in transformations? How many times do we still continue to like it and find it intriguing? And how many times do we feel as though they need to try something different? Well, honestly, to me, I still think it's intriguing because you never really know what could happen. You never really know. I mean, um, you know, you take a look at a show like, say, I don't know, Totally Spies, which was made by the same people that did Martin Mystery. You take a look at that show. There's a few transformation scenes involved there, especially one where I think it's Clover, I believe, that gets transformed into a cat, if you will, completely. Or how about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the new one and the original? In the original, we saw April turned into a cat. We've seen her turn into a fish. And then in the new one, we saw her turn into a demon. Now, in the original ones, she was able to control mainly herself, except when Shredder got a hold of her when she was a Catwoman, turned her into, made her more animalistic, but made her remember more. But basically, she was more dominant of her senses in both ways. Especially when she became a wasp woman. I don't know if she lost her control to being a wasp or what. I don't know. I forgot about that episode. But then again, you take a look at the episode in Ninja Turtles, Back to the Sewers, where she becomes a demon. The demon portion of her takes over, and when she becomes a full-grown demon, April doesn't exist. It's like April's trapped in there. She can't do nothing. But again, like I'm saying, it's these kind of transformations that make it intriguing. So the question is that before I leave you, so my question once again, I ask you, do you like these transformations, and related stuff that takes place in these shows, live action or animated, because it's intriguing, or do you feel it's time for something different? Infant, because you're getting sick and tired of it. That's all I have to ask, and I hope you enjoy number 9 of Topics on My Mind, the audio version, which you can find on YouTube for affiliate, and good night.